Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be explaining day 3 of the Pinch Pot Sgraffito assignment. So in this video, I'm going to explain how to underglaze your pinch pot that is now in leather hard condition, meaning that your pot can no longer bend. It is cool to touch. It is still able to be carved and to be added onto. For the materials, you're going to need your trimmed pinch pot, underglaze, a paintbrush and a cup, a pencil, carving tools, a sponge and a cup of water, a hair dryer or a fan. The first step is to take your pinch pot that is now leather hard, and you're going to go ahead and paint it with underglaze, and you're going to paint it between 4 and 5 times. You can use a banding wheel if you'd like. Just be sure to hold it from the bottom because it does come apart into 2 pieces. And it is helpful to use a banding wheel so that you can turn it as you're painting. Please align your banding wheel with a piece of paper towel. I'm going to set mine upside down so as I turn it I can just work on the sides. Underglaze paint or glaze for clay is a type of paint that we use that is not shiny. It has a matte surface like the purple here. This is underglaze, and you can have the option of making it shiny later by adding a clear coat of clear transparent glaze to make it glossy and to make it food safe if you wish to eat or drink out of it. So start by pouring some underglaze into a clean cup. Make sure your cup is clean with no clay or paint in it. And then go ahead and paint your pinch pot with even layers. I would not make your layers too thick. You want them to be even. It's better to do several thin layers than try to do thick layers. So there's my first layer there. I can turn it. Just going to paint away here. Again, don't worry about covering it. You're going to see the clay through it. Try not to get any glaze on the bottom of your cup. Although underglaze will not stick to the kiln, it's a good habit to not put glaze on the bottom of your projects because unless it's an underglaze, it's going to stick to the kiln when it's heated up in the kiln. Because the glaze turns into, for the most part, turns into like a layer of glass. Again, the underglaze is not going to do that, but we're going to learn how to clean the bottoms of our pots. So there's my first layer. I'm going to start back where I was, add my second layer. You can use either a hair dryer or you can put it up in front of one of the fans that we have in the classroom to speed dry your project. So you could do a couple layers and then dry it, do a couple more layers, dry it. But if you're using a hair dryer, please do it on a lower setting and don't hold the hair dryer too close. Keep it at a distance. We don't want to make it hot, we just want to dry it. Okay, so after you're completed with between 4 and 5 layers on the outside, you're then going to glaze the inside. So I'm going to carefully flip it over, and again, you can take your time, wait until it's dry before you do this step. I'm going to carefully flip mine, and now I can paint the inside of my cup. Again, I don't want it to be like a big puddle in there. I want to smooth it out as I go. I can turn the wheel. Take the glaze that's at the bottom, bring it up, and again, keep in mind that it's okay to see the clay through the glaze at this point because you're going to add at least 4 more layers. The reason we're putting on so much underglaze is because the red clay body, the red clay body is difficult to cover. We want to make sure that we have enough so that your design that you're going to carve into it is going to really stand out. And then don't forget the top. If you wish to use different color on the inside and outside, you may. You could do your rim a different color. I'm just going to use one color for the sake of time, just for demonstrating it. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and you're going to paint it 4 to 5 times. You can use one of these nice bamboo paintbrushes. Please wash it and return it to my cup, which is on my desk at the end of class. Please do not leave it by the sink. These are for glaze only. They're not for acrylic paint. Okay, so after you have completed all of your layers, which I'm not going to do right now for the sake of time, you're then going to see where I can pick this up. I'm just going to remove this one and bring over my dried version. Okay, so I have my pinch pot here, and I noticed that I did get some glaze on the bottom, so I'm going to show you how to clean that. Take a cup of fresh water, a sponge, squeeze, first wet the sponge and then squeeze it out really hard so it's only damp, it's not dripping, and then just carefully wipe away the glaze on the bottom. No part of the bottom should have glaze on it. So that means when you set the cup down on the table, if the part that is on the table has glaze on it, you need to wipe it off, because we do not want it to stick to the kiln shelf. Not only does it ruin your project, but it also can damage the kiln. And then you can touch up little spots if you want to. It's not a huge deal to get those little tiny spots at the bottom. Nobody could really see those anyway when it was sitting. And you can also touch things up after you carve this graffito design. Okay, so now for my design. I think I'm just going to do a simple design with circles. And I sketched something out ahead of time, so please, if you don't know what you're going to do, sketch something out. And then you can go ahead and just draw directly onto the underglaze with pencil. And if you draw lightly enough, like just don't press hard, you can also erase your mistakes. So if I don't like something, I can use my finger and just kind of rub it away, and the glaze will kind of take that away. And then I could just glaze over it again. So here's my design so far. You can be as creative as you like. I'm just making circles of different sizes. My goal for you in this assignment is that the design that you create is taking up about 50% of this space. So what that means is 50% of your space is going to be carved away, and 50% of your space will be left behind. So 50% of my space roughly will be blue, and the other 50% is going to be the color of the clay body, which I will show you when I start carving. I'm going to take that away since I have a spot of water on that. And if you wanted to do something on different sides, you could. That is totally up to you. Remember, you're making 2 pinch pots with this technique. I would like them to be related in some way, whether that's the shape of that pinch pot, whether it's the color, or the design. You decide. And I can add more as I go. So once I have a design on there, the next step is to start carving. You can use your needle tool. You can kind of outline everything. And then you can use the loop tools. I'm going to use the corner of the loop tool that's sharp and just start carving it away. I know you're probably tempted to kind of blow the dust. Please don't blow it. You can brush it off. You could get a dry paintbrush to brush it off as well. So this again, it's going to be helpful if I carve it out. By the way, make sure that as you're working on these, if you work for a couple of days, you need to keep these wrapped in plastic. Your pots need to be wrapped in plastic, because when you're carving, you want to do so when your clay is still in the leather hard state. You don't want to wait for it to dry out completely. When it's dried out completely, that is called bone dry. When you carve something that is bone dry, the clay chips, and it's very difficult to not ruin the design. It's also more difficult to carve. Right now my clay is kind of like cheddar cheese, I guess. It's easy to carve. It's still damp. My design looks good. I think it's looking pretty nice. I can go back afterwards and use this end of the tool to kind of highlight it and outline it even better. So remember, underglaze is not going to come out shiny. After this goes through the kiln the first time, you may then add the clear coat, the shiny coat called Clear Transparent. And at that point, you will not be able to curve anymore. You can only curve it before it goes in the kiln. So that is how to create a Sgraffito design. If I feel like I need more, I could certainly add in more designs around there. Try to create a sense of movement. If you totally mess up, we can kind of use one of the rasps or the shredders and kind of shred off the surface and reglaze so you don't have to start completely over. But that's why it's a good idea to draw a sketch first and then to draw it out in pencil to see where you're going. And then in the end, you'll end up, after it's fired, it will look something like this, where you see the orange color is the clay, the purple color is the underglaze, and then when you add the clear coat to the underglaze, you see the underglaze here, the black looked like this before it's fired with the clear coat, and once the clear coat was added on top of this, it turns into this deep black color. So the same thing would happen with the blue. Right now it's a kind of a lighter blue. When I put the clear coat on, it's going to become a very deep, bright blue. So that is how to underglaze and start with this Sgraffito process of carving away your design. Again, you want to make sure, I didn't mention this, but make sure before you start the carving, you want to make sure that your glaze is completely dry. So either use a hairdryer or a fan, or you may even have to wait until the next day.